I'm a 22-year-old fresh out of college, and I recently landed a job at my old high school, working as a computer intern in the school basement. Despite the basement's overall disorderly state, there's a small, 3-person office that's surprisingly well-equipped. With 3 spacious desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and the bliss of air conditioning, a luxury not extended to students and teachers throughout the school. This office also houses all the school servers and other computer equipment. My 3 former computer teachers, whom I consider real friends rather than mere instructors, played a crucial role in securing me this position. Everything had been going smoothly until a few weeks ago when an unsettling incident unfolded. My 2 office mates, Dave and Gary, were absent at that moment, working on tasks elsewhere in the building. During my lunch break, while enjoying a sandwich, I received a phone call from a woman in the front office, informing me that the school was on lockdown due to a potentially armed individual entering the premises. Being in the basement office, which lacked a proper door and had only a wide opening, and with the basement door having a dysfunctional lock, my safety options were limited. In a cautious move, I turned off all the lights in the office and my computer screen, keeping my phone on the desk. Despite my attempts to contact Gary and Dave, there was no response. In the dimly lit office, I played games on my phone, waiting for further instructions. The tenser silence was eventually interrupted by the creaking sound of the basement door opening. Unsure about the situation, I remained seated, contemplating whether to call out for Gary or Dave. Suddenly, footsteps approached my office. Feeling a surge of fear, I pushed my chair away, crawled under my desk, and waited. Someone entered the office, leaving it in darkness and complete silence. The fear was indescribable as I felt vulnerable and uncertain about the intruder's intentions. Then, a text message notification on my phone shattered the eerie stillness. As I hesitated to check the message, footsteps drew nearer. Eventually, I couldn't resist, and when I saw the text was from Dave, my world momentarily crumbled. The message conveyed the severity of the situation, describing a man with a gunshot and advising me not to come upstairs. In that tense moment, a man in a red plaid shirt, jeans, and a reddish-black cap grabbed my arm, assuring me that he was hiding in the basement. Desperate for information, I asked him about the situation upstairs, but he evaded the question. Despite my unease, he inquired about an exit, and I directed him to one. As he began to explain himself, the situation became increasingly suspicious. When I received another text from Dave describing the armed man and warning against coming upstairs, I contemplated revealing this information to the stranger. However, a sudden realization struck me. As I looked up, my stomach sank. The man seemed to sense my suspicion. In a panic, the only instinct I had was to run upstairs. A gunshot reverberated through the basement, the bullet narrowly missing me as I ascended the stairs. Fortunately, the police were positioned at all exits, including the basement, apprehending the man the moment he opened the door. The silver lining: our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the gunshot. Subsequent investigations revealed a personal conflict between Mr. Buckley and the assailant, although the exact details remained undisclosed. The haunting sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind. At my school, we had 2 lunch periods, one for 6th graders and some 7th graders, and the other for the rest of the 7th graders and 8th graders. The story I'm about to tell happened on a gloomy day in early October, a day that started like any other but turned into something we never expected. During the first lunch period, when the cafeteria was buzzing with students chatting and trays clattering, I heard 4 loud booms. At first, I thought it was just distant thunder because the sky was overcast. However, the entire lunch crowd erupted into screams, and that's when I realized something serious was happening. Suddenly, campus security rushed into the cafeteria, telling everyone to leave and gather in the multi-purpose room. Even those waiting in line for lunch had to abandon their meals and join the growing crowd inside. I found myself with my friends and many other students in the multi-purpose room, curious but also a bit worried about what was going on. The multi-purpose room, usually a place for school events, became a different kind of space that day. The large back wall, usually see-through, was covered with curtains. An adult stood at every exit, making us feel like something big was happening. We were curious about what was going on, but also uneasy about the unknown. One of my friends, Eric, decided to ask one of the adults what was happening. When he came back, he told us a mentally disabled man had barricaded himself in front of his house and was threatening to hurt himself and the police if they tried to remove him. To make things worse, this man was also a registered sex offender and had been seen around our school, watching students in a strange way. Stuck in the multi-purpose room for what felt like a very long time, covering 2 periods, we couldn't help but wonder about the unfolding situation. People whispered about what might be happening, and uneasy looks were exchanged among the students. The see-through glass, which usually offered a clear view, now symbolized the uncertainty that surrounded us. As time passed, the weight of the situation became more apparent. We felt vulnerable, and our familiar school environment turned into a temporary shelter filled with unease. Finally, when everything was resolved and we got the all clear, we were escorted back to our classrooms one by one. The return to our normal routine was slow, and the school, which had been a stage for uncertainty, gradually went back to its usual state. In the aftermath, students talked about what happened with a mix of relief, concern, and questions about the man's intentions and the potential danger he posed. The incident left a lasting impact on our minds, reminding us of the unpredictability that could disrupt our sense of safety at school. It was during these discussions that I heard from my friend Brandy about how close the troubled man's house was to hers. She recounted a past Halloween when she saw him at his window, cutting his arm and writing threatening messages in his own blood. Back then, people thought it was just a spooky Halloween thing. But the recent events made us realize the man was dealing with serious mental issues. We felt fortunate that his unsettling presence never got too close to us. It was just another mundane day in calculus class, a Friday during 7th period. The anticipation of the impending weekend and the approaching spring break had everyone in their seats, feeling restless. Unlike many of my friends who had tests in their other classes, our teacher, known for his laid-back demeanor, decided to spice things up. In the middle of class, he veered away from the usual routine and initiated a game on Sparkle, a platform for interactive quizzes. We found ourselves engrossed in a brand logo quiz, and I distinctly remember the moment when my friend confidently answered, Adidas. Suddenly, the dean's voice pierced through the classroom speakers, filled with panic and urgency. It was a moment of stark contrast to our typically calm atmosphere. The announcement declared that this was not a drill and instructed all teachers to initiate lockdown procedures. A chill ran down my spine, and goosebumps appeared on my arms. Even our easygoing teacher seemed startled as he hurriedly turned off the lights and directed us to the back corner of the room. We sat in silence for what felt like an eternity until the usual buzzing from a panel in the back ceased, signaling a power cut, an unusual and alarming development. As we exchanged uncertain glances, the gravity of the situation sank in. Minutes later, the piercing screams of a man echoed down the hallway, growing louder with each step. 2 girls in the class broke into tears, intensifying the fear that had gripped all of us. The man, sounding deranged, began banging on lockers while threatening to kill us. Fear for our lives settled in, and the teacher hushed us, prompting us to gauge our peers' reactions. The banging then shifted to our classroom door, and one of the crying girls screamed. The relentless pounding continued, creating an atmosphere of terror. It felt like an eternity, but eventually the man moved on, his screams fading away down the hall. 10 minutes later, the dean returned on the loudspeaker, shedding light on the situation. A mentally unstable individual had entered the building, assaulting the woman at the front desk, causing her to flee in terror. The staff, unsure if the man was armed, conducted a search, but the lack of security measures left the school vulnerable. The dean instructed teachers to resume teaching, but emphasized the importance of keeping doors locked and preventing students from leaving. The most disturbing revelation came when rumors spread among my peers. A janitor working the night shift discovered the man sleeping in a storage closet at the back of the school. Whispers circulated about a .44 Magnum sticking out of the man's pocket. The janitor's actions, perhaps inadvertently waking him up, allowed the man to vanish before the police could arrive. To this day, my entire class remains unaware of whether this man was ever apprehended, but I like to believe that he's receiving the help he needs. This unexpected and harrowing experience left an indelible mark on our ordinary school day, exposing the vulnerability of our institution and the urgent need for enhanced security measures.